Wrath of the Swamp Queen. The Galactic Empire had conquered countless worlds, each one bending the knee to its ever-expanding dominion. When the Empire's forces arrived on the remote jungle world of Xyphos 9, they believed it to be yet another insignificant conquest. Its humid swamps teemed with primitive reptilian wildlife, creatures that Imperial officers dismissed as nothing more than animals. They were wrong. Among the many species of Xyphos 9, one in particular stood apart: the crocodile, an intelligent, warlike species resembling colossal crocodiles with razor-sharp intellect and military discipline. They had lived in isolation for centuries, perfecting their craft of war, unchallenged on their home world. But the Empire saw them only as beasts. It began with a massacre. Imperial forces razed villages, slaughtered the young, and enslaved the able-bodied. But their gravest mistake was killing a single child, Zygar, the son of Sorona, supreme warlord of the crocodilids. Sorona was no ordinary mother. She was a general, a strategist, and a living force of nature. The moment her scouts delivered the news of her son's murder, the swamps echoed with a blood-chilling roar. The Empire had unknowingly declared war on the most ruthless general Xyphos 9 had ever known. The Empire's outpost fell within hours. Crocodile warriors, adorned in natural armor stronger than steel, emerged from the waters like phantoms. They struck with primal fury and calculated precision. They did not take prisoners, they left no survivors. Sorona herself led the charge, her emerald scales glistening with the blood of her enemies. She wielded weapons crafted from the bones of Xyphos 9's greatest predators, each strike a declaration of vengeance. Imperial walkers were dragged into the depths by colossal jaws, their pilots screaming as swamp waters consumed them. Blaster fire ricocheted off the crocodilids' thick hides, rendering the Empire's advanced weaponry nearly useless. Reinforcements arrived, bringing legions of stormtroopers and battle droids. It did not matter. Sorona knew the terrain, turning the swamp into a death trap. The Empire's forces drowned in mud, fell to ambushes from beneath the murky depths, and were devoured by creatures the Imperials had dismissed as mere wildlife. Then, she sent a message, one that shook the Empire to its core. A single Imperial officer was left alive, allowed to escape and return to his superiors. In his trembling hands, he carried a hollow recording of Sorona standing atop the corpses of his men, her eyes gleaming with unrelenting fury. "You came to my world. You took my son. Now, I take everything from you." The Empire responded with a full-scale invasion, believing superior firepower would win the war. They underestimated Sorona again. She did not fight for conquest or power, she fought for vengeance. And vengeance had no limits. Xyphos 9 became a graveyard for the Empire's finest. Sorona did not stop at her planet's borders. She took the war to them, leading her warriors in stolen Imperial warships, launching guerrilla strikes on supply lines, and turning entire fleets into smoldering wreckage. The name Sorona became a whispered nightmare across the Empire. The Emperor himself finally issued the order: cease all operations on Xyphos 9. We cannot afford this war. Let the beasts have their world. But Sorona was not done. She did not want surrender. She wanted annihilation. And so, the war raged on, and the Empire learned a lesson it would never forget: never underestimate the wrath of a mother. Wrath of the Iron Scales. The Galactic Empire had conquered countless worlds, enslaved species, and imposed its dominion upon the stars. Yet, in all its arrogance, it had never faced a foe like the Drakath, a species of sentient reptilian warriors feared across the Outer Rim. Towering, armored in scales that deflected even plasma bolts, and possessing a ruthless code of honor, the Drakath were known for their resilience. And among them, none were more feared than General J'Earth. Her name was spoken in whispers, her victories in war etched into the records of 100 worlds. The Empire had learned to avoid direct confrontation with her forces, knowing the cost was too high. But fate, or perhaps foolishness, led them to commit a crime that would doom them all. They killed her son. Young Kriva was no soldier, merely a hatchling, barely into his third cycle. He had been playing along the riverbanks of the Empire-occupied world of Drulakoth when Imperial scouts, mistaking him for an ordinary beast, shot him. They laughed as his body twitched, taking his hide as a trophy, never realizing they had just sealed their own fate. News traveled fast. When the reports reached J'Earth, she did not weep. She did not scream. She merely stood, silent, her golden eyes burning with cold fury. Those who had fought beside her knew what this meant. The Empire had not just taken a child. They had declared war on the mother of all vengeance. Within days, the skies of Drulakoth darkened with warships. Not the Empire's, but hers. The Drakath had remained neutral for years, avoiding full-scale war. No longer. Now, they descended upon the Empire's garrisons with the fury of a mother's wrath. Imperial officers barely had time to react before entire outposts were turned to rubble. J'Earth led the assault personally, her warblade cutting through armored troopers like they were made of paper. She did not stop. She did not rest. One by one, she hunted down those responsible. The commander who had ordered the patrol was found flayed, his body hung as a warning. The soldiers who had fired the fatal shots were drowned in the same river where they had killed her son. And the sector governor who oversaw the occupation. He was dragged before her forces, made to kneel, and forced to beg for mercy he would never receive. The Empire, ever arrogant, attempted retaliation. Fleets were dispatched, but the Drakath fought like demons, fueled by something the Empire could never understand, the unbreakable wrath of a mother. No tactic, no strategy, no superior firepower could stop her relentless march. World after world, the Empire's grip weakened. Fear spread among its ranks. They had made an enemy they could not defeat. And when the Empress herself finally sent envoys to negotiate, J'Earth left them with only one message. There is no surrender. No treaty. No peace. You took my child. Now, I will take your empire. And she did. The Galactic Empire, in all its arrogance, believed itself to be the supreme force of the known universe. It had conquered planets, subjugated species, and broken entire civilizations beneath the weight of its iron-fisted rule. But when they exterminated a single crocodilian child on the swamp world of Rynokk-4, they unknowingly sowed the seeds of their own destruction. His name had been Vurix, a youngling of the Dreka, an ancient race of sentient, bipedal crocodilian warriors. The Empire saw him as nothing more than an inconvenience, collateral damage during an assault on a rebellious outpost. They crushed the Dreka settlement, slaughtered its inhabitants, and left its ruins smoldering under the twin suns. The Imperials never considered that Vurix's mother would seek revenge. But they had never met General Sizara. Sizara, known as the Iron Maw, was no ordinary mother. She was the supreme warlord of the Dreka clans, a legendary figure whose cunning and brutality had earned her the respect of even the most fearsome warriors. When word of Vurix's death reached her, something in her ancient heart cracked. Her grief transformed into an unrelenting storm of vengeance. For decades, the Empire had dismissed the Drekka as little more than primitive brutes, formidable in close combat but no match for Imperial war machines. They were wrong. Sizara was a master strategist, her mind as sharp as her obsidian black claws. She called upon every surviving Drekka clan, uniting them under a single banner of war. She brokered alliances with pirate fleets, black market arms dealers, and even rogue Imperial officers eager to see the throne crumble. Then the war began. The Empire's first mistake was underestimating Sizara's patience. She did not strike immediately. She studied them, learned their tactics, dissected their weaknesses. When she finally unleashed her forces, it was not a simple battle, it was an extinction event. Her fleet emerged from hyperspace like a tidal wave, descending upon Imperial strongholds with ruthless precision. Drekka warriors, clad in their signature armor of woven steel and bone, tore through elite storm legions as if they were nothing but brittle twigs. Sizara herself led the assaults, her towering form a blur of fang and fury. Entire garrisons fell before her, commanders begging for mercy that would never come. The Galactic Empire scrambled to retaliate, deploying fleets to crush the uprising. But Sizara was relentless. She did not fight with honor, she fought to annihilate. She poisoned water supplies, detonated fuel depots, and hijacked Imperial weapons to turn them against their makers. Entire sectors burned in her wake. The climax of her vengeance came at the Imperial capital world of Tyras -9. The Emperor, now desperate, mustered every available warship, believing he could finally put an end to the Drekka menace. But Sizara had anticipated this. As the Imperial fleet engaged her forces, hidden Drekka dreadnoughts emerged from the planet's moon, unleashing hellfire upon the unsuspecting ships. The battle was over before it began. Sizara landed on Tyras-9 personally, walking through the shattered streets until she reached the Imperial throne room. The Emperor, trembling, pleaded for his life. But there would be no negotiations. No mercy. With a single, mighty bite, Sizara crushed the Emperor's skull between her powerful jaws, his blood staining her fangs. As she stood atop the ruins of the once great empire, she let out a thunderous roar that echoed across the galaxy. It was not just a cry of victory, it was a warning. The Drekka would never be prey again.